So, here are some self-assessment questions that I recommend that you ask yourself before creating your vision board. There are a lot of different questions for different categories of life, relationship, money, career, and so forth. However, it's really up to you based on what direction you're trying to go with your vision board. What is it that your goals are for the upcoming months? And you use what you know, what's personal to you, to decide which questions to answer. So I'm just going to share a few questions and what categories they're in, and you decide which ones work for you. Why is it important to do this self-assessment? The self-assessment really helps you to know, first be aware where you are now. So what's my current status in relationship? What's my current status in job? What's my current status with money? And then you can use from where you're starting to decide where you're going. So one of the things I do is I give myself a 1 to 10 scale on some of these questions, and you can choose to do that. Where as I'm asking myself the question, I say, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being like my ultimate, this is where I want to go. And what's important is that you're honest with this self assessment. In order for us to get to the true outcome of where we want to go, we have to be very honest and truthful about where we are now. Sometimes it's hard. It's hard to really look yourself in the mirror and say, this is where I am. But in order for you to get to the next level, it's very important that you're truthful with where you are. So I'm going to read a couple of these questions and share the category. All right. So first, you got to reflect on your current state. So the question is, what aspect of your life are you satisfied with right now? And you can change that to say, what aspect of my life am I satisfied with right now? And take some time to write those down. Okay. And then you ask yourself, in which areas do I feel a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment? In which areas of my life do I feel a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment? Very important that you highlight what is going well, because then you can do more of it, right? Are there aspects of my life that I would like to improve or change? Are there aspects of my life that I'd like to improve or change? And this is where you start to formulate your goals around the parts of your life that you're looking for change, looking for improvement. And this is also where you start to do your visualization. This is where you start to excite the emotions and get that energy of attraction toward these things. And then these are the things where you start to find your images, cut your images from either your magazines or pulling them from your digital app. All right. Now, one of the things that I speak of that I think is critically important when we are doing a vision board. Well, it's critically important, period, but especially when you're doing a vision board, is to identify your core values. And I normally encourage my clients identify their top 5 values. We have plenty more than 5 values, yes. And we can write a list. But when you identify your top 5, those are normally the ones that they're non-negotiables. They are the ones you find yourself working as using as your foundation, working as your core. That's hence core values. So, for example, integrity, saying what I'm going to do what I say. That's one of mine. Peace of mind is actually my number one. So really not having anything interfere with my peace. Very important. Family is in my top five. That means whatever I'm doing, all of the things that I might create on my vision board to achieve, I always put family in the center. And therefore, I don't compromise family for these things, right? So, family is one of my top five. Partnership is one of my top five because once upon a time, it used to be independence, but then now I'm in partnership with my spouse. So knowing what your top values are is so important. Spirituality is one of mine. Why is that important to me? Because I believe that it's mind, body, spirit. It's mind, body, spirit. And I work from that trifecta. And so being in peace, being in meditation, tapping into my higher self, tapping into a higher power, it's a huge one for me. So know your top values. When you know your top values and you have identified those, you can incorporate those in your vision boarding process. You can literally take images of that represents those values and put them on your board. And then you keep your top values at the forefront all the time. So questions like, what values are most important to me in my personal and professional life? What values are most important to me in my personal and professional life? And keep in mind, sometimes people will separate their boards. They'll do a board for um, personal, and then they'll do a board for career. So I'm not a fan of that. I think our lives, it's a whole. And so I don't separate career and job from personal. My vision board is my vision of my life on a whole, right? And so we carry ourselves with us regardless of what we're doing. We're still carrying us, we're still carrying our values, or at least we're supposed to. And so I'm not a big believer in separating your vision board, but that's my personal preference. And like I said, vision boarding is personal. So whatever works for you, works for you. So ask yourself, what are your top five values? And um, ask yourself, are your activities aligned with your core values? So, what are you doing in your life today? Are they aligned with your core values? Very important. Are there any values I would like to prioritize more in my life? So for me, peace of mind. Can't say it enough. And so I prioritize that over everything else. And yes, although my family is in my top five, they come second to my peace of mind because it's important that I'm at peace and that I'm calm and that I feel loved, supported, and that I am the inner joy and love is shining out, then I can be a good, solid person for my family, if you know what I mean. All right, so that's values. There's so many others, and what I want to do is I'm going to touch base on a few that I know might be ones that affect many people. So let's talk about financial aspirations, right? That's one that a lot of us shy away from because money can be such a tough one. And look out for my whole segment just on money by itself. But for your vision board, if there is a financial goal, it is okay to put that on your vision board. So, for example, a question you can ask yourself is, what are my current financial priorities and goals? What are my current financial priorities and goals? And are there any specific financial milestones that I'd like to set? And don't be afraid of money, guys. Don't be afraid of first being aware of where you are financially and then being okay with setting that goal, that monetary goal, what I want to make monthly, what I want to make yearly, um, what I want to make by a certain time frame, how much money I want to have in the bank, all of those things. It's okay. Do not be afraid of money. And I know there are many people who have what I call money wounds, and these are just belief systems that were subconsciously built up with you from a child, and they became reinforced over time, and then money became an issue. And so, if you have that issue, if that is your challenge, it can be changed because the subconscious mind is a bendable and fixable thing. So put your financial goals, evaluate your financial goals, and put that on your vision board if you so desire. Another one is travel. What travel experiences would you like? Many of us, like myself, love to travel. So I always put my travel goals on my vision board. I love to look at them, and I'm specific to down to where I want to go and by what time. Maybe by the end of the year, I would say I want to take a trip to Dubai, or I want to go to London, or maybe I just want to take a trip to New York City. But whatever that is, find pictures, images that represents that travel for you and add it to your board. Another one is it's also important to, before I move on, to ask yourself questions like how how will these travels contribute to my personal goals? It's important. How will it make me feel? All right, one more category of questions, and I am going to list all the questions for you so you can have them, even the ones that I'm not going to talk about here. But let's go to health and wellness and ask yourself questions like, how would I rate my current level of physical and mental well-being? Very important. As we move into new years and new months, and a lot of times we have health and wellness goals. And sometimes we set them as resolutions. But what if you set it as a continuous goal throughout the year? What if it's something that is visual to you on your vision board, right? So, how would you rate your current level of physical and mental well being? And then, are there specific health and wellness goals that you would like to prioritize? And whether that be working out, yoga, meditation, walking more, going out in nature, there's going to the gym. There's so much changing your eating habits and cutting out the sugars, maybe adding more greens, maybe even as much as getting a wellness check. Sometimes we might not have had our wellness check in a while, right? So, why are these things important? A self assessment is a critical part of your vision boarding because it helps you to be more intentional and to be more relevant to your life as it is today versus just, remember, I said a vision board is not just mere collage of pictures. So if you do the self-assessment, then you are more intentional about the things that you put on that canvas. All right? Okay. So take some time to look through these questions and to answer these questions, whichever ones work for you, before we move on to me actually demonstrating for you a digital vision board. See you soon.